All right, hello everyone. Welcome back. This is game 2 of the 1K at GuuBuu Hobby that we did this past weekend. Again, this was a 7-round tournament. So we had 5 rounds of Swiss plus a top cut with 4 players. So very long tournament for all you people that play GLC out there. It typically takes a little bit longer. So these were 40-minute rounds. We did still do best of 1 in the top cut. We did want to go home at some point, so ultimately didn't opt for doing best of 3. I think everybody was pretty appreciative of that. But yeah, we're getting into game 2 here. This is going to be water versus dark. Should be a very fun matchup. Dark player starting with a Zubat with free retreat, and then you've got the Hisuian Basculesian for our water player. So I believe this is a Hydro Pump deck for our water player here. They are got a lot of very tanky Pokemon. They got the Wailord, as well as things like Milo Pump, which lets you get cards back from your discard pile. So there's lots of really cool plays you can do with this deck. Starting off with the Nest Ball, so going to be able to find plenty of basic Pokemon. Unfortunately for our water player, they are going first, so they're not going to be able to use Gather the Crew to find even more Pokemon. But hey, that's probably not going to be too bad. Usually need at least one more turn to start setting up as water anyway. So you can get some basic Pokemon down this turn, ideally. Maybe evolve some of them next turn, get even more down with your Hisuian Basculesian on your second turn. And then on your third turn, actually start getting ready to do some attacks. But first, our water player is going to do some prize checking. Wants to be sure what they have in the prizes. This is some very important games. Our players are competing for cash prizes today in this tournament, so they want to make sure they are doing their best. Starting off with Sobble, this is going to allow them to get into that very powerful Shitty Dealings line later on in the game. So Drizzile has the ability when you evolve it from your hand to find one trainer card from your deck. And then the Inteleon has the same ability, but you find 2 trainers. So a very powerful way to find the cards that you need when you evolve that Pokemon. Also going for a Dive Ball as well as a Capacious Bucket. So our player has lots of resources in the hand. Very strong start from them. Going to be able to find 2 water energies with that bucket. And then another water Pokemon with this Dive Ball. So I don't know why I forgot what that was called for a second. Grabbing the Wailmer and putting an energy down, so setting themselves up for a very powerful turn too. Also, wow, okay, has that Remoraid. Great first turn for our water player. They're getting a lot of their Pokemon down, passing it over to Dark. Dark is going to need to respond with something very strong of their own on this next turn. Does have a Hisuian Heavy Ball. May or may not have some basics in the prizes. Doesn't look like they do. So we're just going to shuffle those back up, but it does get to look at the prizes right away. Not going to have to do a prize check like their opponent did. So I'm actually not totally sure what this dark deck is playing. So hard for me to really talk too much about what they might be setting up. Does have Hoopa. And okay, the Johnny's? I'm not sure how to pronounce her name, but anyway, her secret art lets you find or select 2 of your Pokemon and attach dark energy to them. If you attach one to your active, then that Pokemon is poisoned. But in this case, you're just going to retreat out of that Zubat. This is actually going to let them take a KO on this Basculesian right away. So our dark player is probably playing something that is meant to go very fast. That is the way they're setting themselves up. They're playing very aggressively in this early game. They're likely wanting to take prizes early. I would imagine we might see a Guzzlord later on to try to take some additional prizes on each turn. They're able to get that set up. But outside of that, again, I'm not totally sure what Dark might be running these days. It's been a long time since I've seen a Dark deck. It seems like kind of Dark has maybe fallen off a little bit, but is able to use that Assault Gate to do 90 damage to the Basculesian and takes a prize on the first turn. So Wailmer goes up. I will say, while, that was a good play for our Dark player, they need to take these prizes early. If they don't have any way to follow this up, it might wind up being a play that bites them. I still think you probably would have gone for it anyway, but, hopefully for their sake, they've got something to follow it up. But Evolution Instance coming out, we'll see if our water player opts for, they have lots of options. Assuming Drizzile is in there, that's always a good option. Could find another way to get even more things into play. So gonna do that, evolving into the Drizzile, using Shading Dealings, gonna be able to find another trainer from the deck. Again, this water deck just has so many ways to be able to find the resources that it needs, continuously getting things back from the discard with the Milotic, finding stuff from the deck with Drizzile, as well as the Inteleon. Water is just such a powerful type in general. It's got supporters like Irida, Capacious Bucket to help you find energies. If you really want to, you can run both Professor's Letter and Capacious Bucket. There's not too many special energies that water would want to run, so you're running lots of basic energies anyway. Typically you're probably not going to grab that many, but hey, here we go. Grabbing that Irida off of the Drizzile. Supporter that lets you find a water Pokemon as well as an item card. So can either find a way to get more setup down, as well as evolve one of their Pokemon. So Wailord coming out as well as Hisuian Heavy Ball. So it does mean that they almost certainly have a basic in their prizes that they really want to get out. See what one that is. Trying to think about what's in the list of what they might want to grab. Could maybe be the Feebas, which can be a powerful thing to set up so that you can evolve it when you need it and get a trainer back from your discard pile. Or I'm sorry, I think it's any card back from your discard pile, not just a trainer card. Our player is shuffling up. Likely going to then play the Hisuian Heavy Ball and evolve into the Wailord. We'll see what Pokemon they want to grab from the prizes. Again, they know exactly what's in there. They did a nice thorough prize check. There's no way there's not something in there that they want. And it's a Snom. Okay, so yeah, I see why they needed that card. Snom, once you get into the Frostlass, the Frostmoth. Been watching a little bit too much Standard, thinking about Frostlass. But the Frostmoth, when you evolve that, it allows you to, as often as you like, attach a water energy from your hand to one of your bench Pokemon. Great way to be able to power up all of these Pokemon that require lots of energy cards. Snom going down on the bench so it can evolve on a subsequent turn. Again, our grass player is going to need, if they've got something like a Guzma, that could be a way to slow down their opponent. Oh no, reversal energy in hand. This Wailord is ready to go, taking prizes on the second turn of the game. Wow, such a powerful play from our water player. Not something that I saw coming. But with just one energy attachment on the first turn and then that reversal energy, again, they're ready to attack with that very powerful Wailord, taking out that Hoopa. Does seem like our dark player likely top decked that Buddy Buddy Poffin. I would be amazed if they had that last turn and didn't decide to play it. So at the very least, they are going to set up some additional Pokemon. They're not just going to get donked this turn. Again, I'm not sure what they're playing, and they're hiding the deck from us. So Purloin is not surprising. Pretty much any dark deck's going to run Liepard no matter what. That trade is a very good ability. Lets you discard a card from your hand and then draw 2 cards. Anything that helps draw you cards, adds consistency to your deck, it's almost always a good choice in any format. GLC is no exception. Is debating Spiritomb as well, so this seems like a pretty traditional dark list. Has Spiritomb to be able to stack damage counters and do massive damage later on in the game after you've been able to stack up some damage counters. I believe I saw Guzzlord. Wouldn't be surprised if we've got a Zoroark in this deck as well, though which one they're running remains to be seen. I think I saw a Coughing, so probably running the Galarian Wheezing, and I know I did see a Zoroark there as well. I think it might have been the Revenge Zoroark. Or sorry, not the Revenge Zoroark, the one that lets you copy an attack that your opponent used. So yeah, definitely looking like a pretty traditional dark list. But grabbing Spiritomb, grabbing Purloin. Probably going to build some spite on this Spiritomb because it's a very far cry from even putting a dent in this Wailord. This thing has a massive, I believe 240 HP. I mean, I know that Pokemon is probably not looking at GLC and considering it too much when they're designing cards, but man, if they are, then I don't know what they were thinking with this Wailord, because this thing has just an insane amount of HP on a stage 1 in a single prize format that is usually maxing out at around 180 as far as big hits go. Obviously, you can occasionally go higher with some attacks and buffs like powerful energy and muscle band, but I mean you're talking about a lot of cards in that case to be able to take a KO. So ultimately, I think they did use bite. I wasn't sure if they passed. I don't think there's really any reason not to just go ahead and damage this big Wailord. Does have the Frostmoth in play. Gosh, and Evo Soda. This our water player just has everything they want. It seems like had a fantastic start. Able to get some additional cards, getting the artillery, going to be able to draw until they got 5 cards in their hand, but they do need to shuffle first. So our grass, or sorry, not our grass player, our water player is just coming out extremely strong. The only thing that's kind of a saving grace for our dark player right now is since the water player did take a prize, it does mean that reversal energy is shut off. With just the one attachment for turn, they are almost certainly not attacking this turn. They would need to get out of the active, be able to attach another energy with something like the Frostmoth, and then be able to again get back into the active to get an attack off. Considering they're playing their supporter for turn and in, it's almost certainly not going to happen. There were ways that they could do it with something like Escape Rope and then GuuBuu. There still is a slim chance for that, assuming they run Escape Rope. If they had like Floatstone and Escape Rope and an energy, then they could Escape Rope first, get the Wailord out of the active, accelerating energy, attach their air balloon or Floatstone in the retreat. So there is a possibility here. They might get another attack off this turn, but we're talking about a very specific set of cards, and I'm not sure that our player is going to find that. Meanwhile, Dark is just really hoping that their opponent does not get an attack off this turn. They need some additional time, some additional turns to continue setting up their board, get some attackers ready to go to finally KO this Wailord, because right now it's just a massive threat. Okay, using Scoop Up Net. This is something that if you played Standard a few years back, you were probably very familiar with. It was very common for us to see Scoop Up Nets on Drizziles and Inteleons, so that way you could play additional Drizziles and Inteleons on your turn. So setting up for the next turn to be able to get more resources. Does have that Purloin, so great card to be able to find off of that inn. Now has trade to keep finding some additional Pokemon from their deck. The problem right now, though, is if you don't have hand disruption, you kind of almost need to disrupt your opponent's hand this turn. So they've got the Drizzle in hand. They've got a decent amount of cards in their hand in general. So you want to get rid of those cards. You need them to not find the resources they need. Ooh, he's playing the Golbat. Interesting. So I thought they were probably playing the Zubat just to be able to have a free retreater, but is running a Golbat, which I think will let you draw a card when you play it to evolve it. Other than that, it's not a super relevant card. I wonder if that means they're playing with a Crobat. There is a Crobat that you can play in this format. I believe it's for is it 3 energies or 2 energies? Either way, it's either 2 or 3 energies, and it's able to do 30 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon, or I think it might be 3 damage counters. And if you KO them, you take additional prizes. So a very cool attack when you're able to get it off. I wonder if that is what our player is running. So it does evolve into Golbat. I think they're hoping that their opponent is not going to be able to KO them on their next turn. They didn't get a KO on the previous turn, so they're really just hoping and praying. But again, the problem is they know they've got that Drizzile, and while Bucket might be down, there's a good chance that the player is running the Professor's Letter as well, which is going to let them find more energy cards. If not, they might be running something like Lady, which will allow them to find energy cards from the deck. Again, Water just has so many ways to do it, and with the Drizzile in hand, they can go find whatever they need. The only chance that our dark player has there is that any of those resources are prized, which Considering our water player knows very clearly whether or not any of those resources are prized, they both prize checked, as well as used that Soon Heavy Ball. They almost certainly know whether or not they've got what they need to be able to get an attack off next turn. So, looks like our player is debating on retreating. Ooh, gosh, that's a rough choice to be making. Going into that Lipard, you know, this is a card that they interesting. Okay, so they're using Escape Rope. All right, so they want the Whale Lord out of the active, forcing their opponent to bring up one of their other cards into the active. I wonder if they've got what they need to be able to use Spirit Tomb this turn. If they do have, because right now they're doing, let's see here, 60, I believe 70 damage. So they are KOing the Sobble if their opponent goes up with that. If they've got Rainbow Energy in hand, they could really KO anything. Looks like the player is opting for Sobble, which is going to make that Drizzile in their hand a lot less useful. Again, that is assuming that they actually have the resources. Has their player not used... Wow, they really did all of that without doing trade. They probably should have done that first. Generally, if you can, you often want to draw cards before you're playing other cards in your hand that you don't have to play. Sometimes you do need to sequence in ways where you're playing cards before you're drawing cards. But in a lot of cases, you just need to draw cards first. All of the plays that they made, it would have been smarter to have full knowledge of what you were going to have access to this turn before you did any of those. But not what our player ultimately decided to do. Does get down that coughing, so maybe they can evolving to wheezing in a later turn and shut off the abilities. So using Clara, so is getting back some Pokemon from the discard, is going to be able to attack with Spirit Tomb this turn. Again, should be a KO on the Sobble. I mean, I get why you need to take the KO. Like I'm not disparaging them for taking this, but at the same time, you are reactivating the Wailord, guaranteeing that it's getting an attack next turn. But I don't know what other choice you have as this Dark deck. Dark needs to just take prizes every single turn, get damage out. It does shut down the Drizzile play, so it does slow down Inteleon getting into the game later on. So again, not a bad play, one that I can totally understand. But clearly our water player saw that as the weakest link on their bench because they were willing to sacrifice that over the Frostmoth or over the Octillery. So Buddy Buddy Poffin going down, going to be able to get some additional Pokemon from the deck. Looks like the player was looking at that Manaphy. Don't know if they really need that in this matchup. Again, I think the Crobat is damage counter, so Manaphy wouldn't be protecting you. Though if it does do damage, it again is not a terrible option to get down. Also, since your bench is pretty open, you could always use it to thin out the deck a little bit, make it easier to find your other resources. Not sure what the other Pokemon that our water player is debating. Well, I guess we'll see it in a moment. So they are moving cards aside to make room on the bench. Again, really debating this play. They're not sure what they want to put down. Trying to make this final choice. They haven't started shuffling, so they could still go back on these decisions. I think I do see a professor's letter in hand, so it looks like they would have been able to. I think they ultimately opted to just fail it. I can see that. They've already gotten down most of their important Pokemon. Any of the other ones they want are kind of in the discard. So there's no reason to overbench if you don't need to. You are giving your opponent more options to potentially trap things into the active that you aren't going to need. So might as well leave those into the deck here. Does use Professor's Letter, so going to find 2 more energy. Doesn't need them this turn since Wailord is powered up because of the reversal energy, but doesn't hurt to go ahead and attach another one just to guarantee that you can continue attacking. This Spiritomb does have very little HP, so it's going to be a bit of an overkill to hit it with this Hydro Pump from the Wailord. Water is still in a very good position. I would say if there was actually any threat for this Wailord getting KO'd on the next turn, they're kind of in a precarious spot. They don't have any backup attackers set up. Water doesn't have a lot of powerful basics, and I don't believe, in the ones that it does have, I don't think this build is running any of them. So there's no Lapras in the deck. At least I don't think there is. I don't believe there's a Kyogre. So you need time to evolve your Pokemon. And again, right now, there aren't any of those other attackers down. Does put an air balloon on Frostmoth, so now has a good pivot Pokemon just in case they ever need it. Gosh, Water just has so many cards that they can play this turn. Using the Super Rods, we're going to get some of those other Pokemon back into the deck, just opting for the Sobble. Again, not only is it a great Pokemon to find you resources you need from your deck, but it's also a great attacker. Once you get into Teleon for 2 energies, it does 120 damage, and then 20 more damage to something on your opponent's bench. So a lot of damage for only 2 energies, while also finding you 3 resources while you are evolving it. Just absolutely insane card. It's still wild to me to think back on that card during Standard, where you could run multiples. So a lot of times on turns, you would have multiple Sobbles down. I might have like a couple of Drizzles into play, and then evolve those ones, use something like the Scoop Up Net, and then keep playing them on other ones. GuuBuu, bringing up that Golbat, so deeming this to be the bigger threat, does put that Feebas down as well, so going to potentially be able to evolve into the Melodic. Is it Milotic? I don't know. I've always said Milotic, but some people say Melodic. I'm going to say Melodic for the rest of this because I feel like I hear more people say that. So going to go with that as the pronunciation. But ultimately does get a KO on this Golbat. Only 4 prizes remaining for our Water player. It's still 4-4. At least prize-wise, this game is very even. But if you actually look at the board state, it's a good example of how prizes is not a good indication of who is winning and who is not. I actually teach a lot of kids at the league that I run where they come in and they're like, oh yeah, I've taken 3 prizes. My opponent has 6. I'm winning. Meanwhile, they have like 1 Pokemon in play with all their energies on it, and it's about to be KO'd next turn, and they have no idea. But that's what happens when you're teaching like 6 and 7-year-olds. They're maybe not the best strategic geniuses. So there are obviously a lot of very powerful, very strong, very good junior players out there. But you have plenty of other ones that are just getting into the game and just learning and haven't quite figured out some of those nuances to be like, oh, maybe it's a bad idea to just have 1 Pokemon with like 5 energies on it for no reason. But I know it's kind of off topic, but I don't know, teaching the kids is always fun because again, some of them just really have no idea. And no matter how much you tell them, like, hey, maybe we want to bet some other Pokemon. We want to equip other energies. They're just like, you know what? No, I just want to attack with my really powerful EX card that I have. And you're like, okay, that's fine. We can learn a lesson. But getting back to the game, so using trade on that Liepard, getting rid of the Lana's Aid, and going to be able to draw 2 additional cards. Dirk does have a lot of resources in hand, so maybe they can piece something together here. They do have the Alolan Weezing, so going to be able to evolve into that. This is another card I actually going on another rant about Standard. I missed this when this was in Standard. When it's in the active, shuts off all abilities that your opponent has. So great thing to just stick in the active and make it so your opponent really can't activate any of those powerful abilities. So I'm going to GuuBuu up the Octillery. Going to take another KO this turn. Again, Dark doing what Dark needs to do. It just needs to take prizes every turn. Just keep taking hits, taking hits, taking hits. Dark is setting itself up pretty well. It's got the Spiritomb down with 3 damage counters on it. It's becoming a bigger and bigger threat. The problem is, I'm not sure that it ever gets powerful enough to take out this Wailord. Theoretically it can get up to the damage, but do you have the time? Do you have the resources to be able to do that. You would need a way to buff its HP, get more damage counters on it. At the rate you're going, it's going to take way too long to get there to ever KO this Wailord. At least right now, you are still staying ahead in the prize trade. One option is to just ignore it and just focus down on all these bench Pokemon. I mean, one negative of that is your opponent does just have 3 Pokemon in play and you need to take 3 prizes. So there is a world where our water player just lets their 2 bench Pokemon get KO'd if that is the path that they think Dark is taking, and then just keep swinging with Wailord and win that way. Ultimately, I believe they would come out on top if that was the way that things went, because they can buy a couple turns, whereas Dark wouldn't have what it needs left. Take another KO, so it's back to being 3-3. Our Dark player is not in a super strong position. They're doing what they can to stay in this game, but again, there's just this Wailord. It's just a menace. Like, I mean, what do you do? You got 10 lonely damage on it from that bite from that Zubat. That Zubat really tried its best, but you know, it's literally just like a mosquito bite to this just massive Wailord. So thinking about going up with Wheezing. Ultimately does opt for that. Finds a Nest Ball off the top. I think unfortunately the Nest Ball might be a little bit too late to find something like Guzzlord. I mean, in this, I mean, Guzzlord would be one way to come back, assuming the deck is playing it. If you can get that down, power it up, take 2 prizes off the Frostmoth. Again, that could be your path to victory. Just keep focusing down this bench. I don't believe they've played, no, they did. They played Escape Rope. They've played Guzma. They've got VS Seeker left, but I don't think they would have another way to be able to target down that other bench Pokemon. Does Nest Ball for the Guzzlord. Looking at the other resources in the deck to see if they've got what they need to power it up. Does have, was that Beast Ring? Yep, there it is. So got the Beast Ring. Are going to be able to power up Guzzlord this turn. Do they have a way to take multiple prizes on this turn? I think we saw their double turbo energy in the deck. So, you know, they need a way to get one of the other Pokemon into the active, as well as actually get that other energy card, and they probably can't do that this turn. So maybe they're just setting up for a future turn with this Guzzlord. I mean, again, it's the right time to do it. Beast Ring becomes deactivated once one more prize is taken. So if you don't do it now, you're not doing it this game. You know, Dark is really just trying to find that line. That they do have options, but they need so many cards to piece it together. I think if their opponent had maybe just been 1 turn slower, they might have had a little bit better chance. Yeah, they're really struggling. They're debating what they need to do this turn. I'm looking at multiple different cards in the hand. I think debating on that special charge. I'm not sure they've got any. Do they have any special energy in the discard? I'm trying to think what they even have. So is using special charge. Oh no, they're trading it away. Okay. So realizing they're not going to need it this game. So getting rid of that card. Finds an Ultra Ball, which is not super helpful, and one other card, which at least doesn't seem like the most amazing thing, because they're not opting to play it right away. Also, I do apologize, everybody, for the camera being a little bit shaky. We do have several players playing at this table, and clearly somebody's kind of knocking around the table a little bit more than is desired. Normally when we do these, we just have the players set up on a table by themselves, but we're kind of filming in a slightly different location in the store for this one. So yeah, it's a little shaky, but does have the Versus Seeker. I believe they played that. I'm not sure what supporter they got back with it. So player is again still debating what they're going to do. So again, they don't have the obvious play. I don't think they've got necessarily a way to be able to take a KO this turn. Yep, opting to attach a Dark Energy for turn. So again, they are hoping for that Guzzlord to help them out later in the game, building more spite on the Spirit Tomb. Okay, so they did get Guzma back. All right, so they are going to be able to take KO this turn. I actually think in this situation the Melodic or the Feebas rather might have been the better target. The Melodic gives you a lot more options. If your opponent is able to evolve again, they can get any card back from their discard. Whereas that Frostmont, I mean, what's it powering up? What do you care at this point? Like, yes, it's got an air balloon on it, but again, they want this Wailord in the active, so it's just kind of irrelevant. Down goes the Rough Seas, which I kind of feel like is indicative of how this match has been for our Dark player. It's just very rough for them. It's going to allow our Water player to keep healing that Wailord. And the Iono, oh no. This is getting rid of all those resources that our Dark player has been building up. Going to be put down on 2 cards. And again, they've been swinging away every turn, which is what Dark needs to do. It needs to just take prizes. But it was really hoping next turn our player wanted to be able to get one more energy on that Guzzlord, get that Feebas in the active, and take those last 2 prizes. That was their way to victory. They will get to draw one more card and then trade. So there is a world where they can still pull this game off. I don't think Boss's Orders has been used. So if they've got an energy in hand, you can find Boss, then there is still a way they can win. Is going up with Wheezing, so they don't have to play immediately. Maybe wanting to try to buy one more turn. Wheezing does shut off the Melodic, so maybe that's what the thought was. Does have Professor's Letter, so getting at least the energy they need. That's one piece. So again, player is not completely out of the woods, but they are still fighting for their life. They're trying to do what they can. Just has one more energy in the deck. If they did have 2, they would almost certainly grab it here. You want to thin out the deck, you need to find the card that you need, which I believe is that Boss's Orders. We know Guzma has been used, Via Seeker has been used, Escape Rope has been used. So their path to victory has to be that Boss's Orders. They need to find it. If you can find it off of this trade, then he'll have the cards that he needs. But unfortunately, he would also need to be able to get the Wheezing out of the active. Trading away the Night Stretcher, getting 2 cards. Neither one of them is Boss's Orders. Is another energy as well as a U-turn board. So, I mean, U-turn board's not terrible here. But it's also not really helping you. It's just a little too late. So does put the counter energy on. I guess they are thinking about poisoning, so setting up this Wailord is the judge might be clarifying something here about the poison. Not sure what's going on there. Oh yeah, nope. Duh. The good catch by our judge there. I'm too busy focusing on other things, and we're both on 2 prizes, so you can't actually you're not getting dark energy from that counter energy. Again, good catch from our judge there. We did have either myself or one of the other judges watching these games all day long, so I have seen some of these games. I'm gonna be honest, I don't quite remember many of them. We did have a standard 1K the day before, or sorry, the day after this tournament. So I've been watching lots of games of Pokemon lately. So, and this is one that I did not watch, so I don't really know this one at all. But Escape Rope going down, taking the KO. So Liepard going down, meaning there's less ability to find the resources you need on this turn. This is the last turn for our player. They're just going up with the Guzzlord. They're hoping and praying. Are they going to top deck the card they need? Oh, it appears. Well, they do have Luxurious Cape, though. Which Luxurious Cape, I think, might put the player out of range. Not sure exactly how much damage they're doing right now. They've got 4 energies attached. Only 3 of them are water energies. So So I think the Luxurious Cape does put them out of range. Getting Piers, again, gives the ability to thin down a little bit, making it more likely to find the card they actually need. But they're not going to find it this turn. Wow, Moltres would have been another option. Had no idea that our player was even playing that. So Moltres can do, enough damage to potentially have gotten a KO, but unfortunately our Dark player just never had the ability to find it when they needed it. But it lets you, when you play it from your hand to your bench, you can equip 2 Dark Energy from your hand, and then it does 50 more damage for each prize card your opponent has taken. I think then plus 20 is the base damage of it. So again, enough to actually knock out this Wailord when your opponent's just down on 1 prize, but you're not doing that this turn, unfortunately. So we do know it's just a basic Dark Energy in hand, plus Hiding Energy and the Galarian Moltres. If our Water player has what they need on this next turn, if they could potentially evolve into the Melodic, get back something like Escape Rope, they can just win next turn with the Wailord. Hiding Energy going down on the Guzzlord, and then pass. Or sorry, using of course you would use the attack here. Might as well. No reason not to. So player is using Rough Sea, so healing up their Pokemon by 30. Student Heavy Ball, gonna look at that. 1 prize left, goes right back down. So it looks like our player doesn't instantly have what they need to be able to win this game. This match has actually come down to be a lot closer than I was expecting. Gosh, it's kind of funny. It would have been very critical if our Dark player had been able to get that poison off. Then on this next turn, they would be able to take a KO on this Wailord. But that Rough Seas taking them out of KO range. Like, this is actually a very, very close match. Does announce the attack, so going back to our Dark player, they've got this one more chance. Ooh, Culver's Tenacity, not the card that they needed. Again, unfortunately, I don't think there's going to be enough damage that they can do this turn to take out this Wailord. If they, wow. So incredible for a Water player that the 30 damage heal from the Rough Seas might be the deciding factor that wins them this game. I was not expecting this match to come down and be this close in the end, but Dark again was playing it very well, moving through their cards, using the resources that they had access to the best that they could. Unfortunately, they might have just been a little bit too slow. That Iono did not give them enough of the resources that they needed. Muscle Band is in the deck, but they would be off by 10 even with that. So looking at that reversal energy, so yeah, it is bumping the stadium. But I think at this point they're kind of going through the motions. I'm pretty sure it's over for our Dark player. As soon as they pass it over, the Wailord is just going to take the KO and win the game. So I think that's what our players are kind of debating a little bit right now. And there you go. That's the GG. Well done by both of our players. Very close game. It's looking very rough for Dark early on, but again, they knew what they were doing, moved through the game,